What's going on, guys? Reckless Rish, we're back with a new, or rather, this is the first update of the closed alpha Planet Nomads. We're in version 0.3.2, so we're going to go ahead and load up the game. We're going to go into the lab. The lab is basically a series where I'm going to be exploring some of the blocks and whatnot and changes to the game as it progresses before it comes to early release on Steam. Some of the new features that they've added are a new magnetic jack block, which is used to raise a finished vehicle. And if you remember in the previous installments of my Planet Nomad series, that was a complaint about the jack tool. And if I just load up the jack tool here real quick, let's go ahead and do it right there. Here is the jack tool, and you can one of the initial complaints that I had is when you're building a vehicle and it comes time for the vehicle to be ready, you simply deleted the block. And what I thought would be cool is if this block eventually became something that you could power up. Let's go ahead and put a flashlight on that. If you could eventually provide power to it, if this jack would raise up and down, allowing you to raise a vehicle. So the solution that they came up with was a magnetic, magnetic jack block. So if I go back into the blocks, it's down here at the bottom. It is the hoverjack. Lifts vehicles into the air, making it available for modification. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide that down here to a random slot. And this is my first complaint with it. I don't know if it's just me or a bug. I guess I'll check the forums here in just a little bit. But I can't place it on any of these blocks, and I think that's kind of silly. What I did find is if I come over here, yep, I've already got one over here. I can place it on the ground, so you'll see it doesn't turn green, which means that it can be placed uninterrupted. But I do get a yellow right there around the hoverjack, which means that it can be placed with minor interruptions. But characteristically, I guess it still operates just fine. And then again, you see here, it's not allowing me to place. So how does this thing work? It works pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. I'm going to jump into the cockpit, and then we're going to change vision here. We're just going to go ahead and back right up. Now I think initially this thing, no, it does not. All right. I couldn't remember if it fired up automatically, which might be a function. We'll go in the build vision here and check that out. So I do have it powered up to my little maintenance generator over there, and this is cool. So before I go in the build vision though, let me free up my hands. I'm going to come up to it, I'm going to hit tap. Man, check that out. That is pretty freaking cool. If I go in the build vision, I can raise it up. Alright, so even if you've got a ridiculously large vehicle, or extremely low ground clearance, or a combination of the two somehow, you have plenty of space to move underneath it. I wonder what happens if I try to walk on it. Nope, it won't lift me up, so maybe it's only reacting to actual vehicles. And then if I just drop it, there we go. So that's pretty cool. Again, this is the buggy, if you remember. This is the first improved buggy version 1.1. Still having this little issue where when I'm coming out of the cockpit, sometimes I get stuck behind, or rather between the wheels. Okay, so the hoverjack, pretty cool little block there. That was the first thing that they added. The second thing they added was the ability to connect multiple devices in build vision. So if you recall, let's go ahead and I'll also use this right here. We'll go ahead and disconnect everything real quick. So if you recall, in previous episodes, or the previous version, as there is only one, if I went to connect, say, power to this wheel, boom, got a good solid green line. And the ability to connect additional objects coming from the same power source was not an option. I would have to run back to the generator and then reselect connect object and come back to my new object to select it in build vision. But now I can just, bam, there we go, magic, both wheels are now connected. Just to go ahead and demonstrate that one more time, I'm going to go clear that out, and I'm going to go ahead and connect electricity 1 and 2. So that is a huge much needed time saver. I'm going to go ahead and turn down my game volume in the background. I think it might be a little bit loud as the storm rides in. And then the newest thing that they added, or the newest feature that they implemented, was this new cockpit. So this cockpit, let me go ahead and actually place, let me just grab a jack here. For some reason I'm favoring slot number 7. There is 1 and there's 2. So let's go ahead and take a look at these two side by side. Alright, so here is our original cockpit. I'm going to spin that around real quick. Place. And then the new cockpits. So I personally am a fan of the fact that they did implement this. If I just were to demonstrate very quickly a quick perk, and what I would imagine several people were probably complaining about, and if they weren't necessarily complaining, may have found it relatively irritating, and that is when you have an even base, you know, like 2, the options for symmetry are kind of degraded, I guess you could say. Obviously, you know, in terms of, I guess, making this weird little front is doable. I guess that doesn't really even make any sense. If I were to start here, however, you know, if I got here, you know, and then I can come and just grab this corner block real quick, that one, and then just for demonstration we'll do a front load. So what I can do now is I can place these blocks here. Alright, and then in the front we get this really nice, you know, smooth, rounded, and then if I wanted to, I could place, even though it's not, you know, center or whatever, I could place, you know, something in the front, like a light. I can't do that here when it's just 2. I get this very short and abrupt stubbed nose type appearance, and trying to round it out, the only option that I have is really something like that. I know right now it's kind of hard to tell. Let me see if I can turn off these lights real quick. Let's just, so I can power that off. Maybe it might make things a little easier for the demonstration. Yeah, it does help a little bit. So we go from more of a beak-like appearance, you know, like a bird, to something that looks a little more man-made, like it should be. I do think, just kind of in general, it still looks a little bit stubby. I think if they added an additional cockpit that was maybe 3x4, that might be something we're going for. And again, 3x4, we'd have, you know, this length 1, 2, 3, 4 with a front of 3, which we already kind of talked about there in the beginning. And then of course, if it was 4 long, they would just elongate the cockpit just a smidge. And I think if that was the initial 3 options for cockpits, I think that would be pretty cool. But considering we're initially starting with land-based type vehicles, I really don't have too many complaints with the dimensions of the new cockpit here. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to jump in the original cockpit. We're going to go ahead and take a look. Looks like they've disabled the flashlight in the cockpit, which is good, because it was kind of silly when you were outside. If I were to turn on my flashlight, it used to be there. Well, now it's clearly not. Let's go ahead and jump into the new cockpit and see if we can notice any differences. Top still the same. Yeah, nope, everything's just it's somehow, it almost feels the same. Almost feels the same on the inside. Maybe it's just because it's nighttime and it'll feel slightly different with a little bit of daylight. So those are the new blocks. So we've got a 3. We've got a, what is it? A 2x3. What did I say? 3x3 cockpit now. And then we've got the magnetic jack, which is pretty cool. And then they've also added the ability to connect multiple functions to, or connect multiple things electrically, or it's relatively early. And I really shouldn't record this early, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here with the next couple minutes talking about the build. So one thing that I'm going to try to do here in the series is in each episode or each update that they do, try to build something that will incorporate whatever it is that they've added to the game or updated. And we've got one minor change right over there. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But I went ahead and threw together, I'm going to call this the Hulk, or maybe I jokingly called it the Ramrod. So this is a ramming type vehicle. One thing, however, major complaint, I don't know if it is from the update, from the previous update, but the suspension seems to be a little bit crazy. I don't think that this vehicle is very large, and even with, if I go in the build vision here, even with my suspension all the way around on all 6 suspension bars here, I cannot get the vehicle to sit any higher than this. So I think the I guess like whatever system is being used to calculate weight and suspension against that needs to be taken a look at. So this vehicle, obviously the only major change that they added characteristically wise would be the maintenance pad and then the 3x3 cockpit. So I just went ahead and threw in a 3x3 cockpit. 3x3 cockpit is kind of a stubby / wide cockpit, so I built a kind of stubby / wide vehicle. So this vehicle is it's basically, the idea behind it is it's used to ram. So it has this gigantic bumper / battering ram in the front. If I come in here to build, this isn't build vision, but there is, I don't know if I enabled steering on these. Let me go ahead and get these wheels to steer. There we go, I should be good. Oh, we got the sun coming up now. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump in. I should have steering functionality. I do now. Alright, so as the sun's coming up, let's go ahead and spin the camera around, take a look at how this thing functions with this. So yeah, it's looking initially pretty good, but then it sinks. The vehicle just sinks super down low. So I don't know, it looks a little wonky. I don't think it looks like what it should, and I even tried to give it slightly higher ground clearance. You can kind of see there's like a V-shaped type hull, but we'll go and park this thing back. And then I just added the added the spoiler because, well, it makes achieving ramming speed faster. And we're going to take a look at, this is a rescue type vehicle that I built. One of the changes they made to the game, although it was a previous complaint in my last episode, and that is the dimension or placeability of this textured indoor block, which I originally used as like side rails for a truck. And what I'll do is I'll have like an overlay video. I'll put it up here in the corner so you can kind of see the vehicle in the video that I made that never really got posted just because I didn't. But they've now turned into a full 1x1 block. And in the original vehicle, these were placed because they were so thin. They were used almost like to give the appearance of like an air intake or radiator type function, but now they're just big giant blocks. And while I initially wanted to remove them because they look so goofy, I just thought it might be fun to kind of keep, again, to show how the game just kind of progresses. So while I'm talking about that block, let's go ahead and see if the same thing happened over here. So if I delete one of these, okay, no, so this is interesting because if I go in the first person here, so it looks like the larger 3x3 tiles, see how they're still super thin. I don't know why these guys are thin and the other ones are not. What if I head over here? Okay, yep, these are still relatively thin. So it looks like it might just be the 1x1. So let's go here. No, 1x1 floor. Interesting. So So if I try to place these, yeah, these are now full blocks, but the 3x3 is not. Okay. Although, if you look in the, yep, the little block example, it's a full block. So maybe my version did an update, or that's just a bug in the update itself. Maybe they failed to do whatever they they do. So I imagine maybe in the next episode we'll see these things turn to full-size blocks with the next update, and then these blocks would actually come up to a height of this. So then the space in here would actually be full. Well, I can't really point to it because the block is just being a little bit silly. Alright, so we got a little bit of daytime here, and since I really didn't go over it in, well, I ended up not posting the video, just because, well, I didn't. Maybe I will. I'll go back. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this exploration / rescue vehicle that I built. This thing is, honestly, it's a lot of fun. I feel like it's about as balanced of a vehicle that you can probably build right now. The back's still sitting a little bit higher, but this thing just, it's fun. It's just a fun vehicle. It's got 2 cockpits, so if I wanted to, and multiplayer was enabled, I could like have a passenger. Oh, there's a hole, and it's just rolling right on through it. So yeah, this thing was a lot of fun to build. It's a lot of fun to drive. And so the last thing that we are going to take a look at amongst all the other changes, looks like I'm sliding here. The last thing that we're going to take a look at is performance optimizations. Well, not necessarily performance optimizations, but they changed the grass setting. So I'm going to go in the, oh, nope, I cannot. Looks like I can't change my graphic settings. So I'm going to go ahead and save the game here. So let's see if we can take a quick look at, well, exactly how the game looks. We're looking specifically at the grass. So I'm going to try to max out my graphic settings, and then we're going to see if we can notice a difference. So let's go ahead and save. Test lab. Yeah, we'll go ahead and overwrite that. Go to the main menu. Yep. Alright, so let's go into our video options. Grass density. We'll change that to very high. Yeah, we're going to change everything to very high / ultra. Yep, I'm just going to leave it like this. Let's hit OK, and let's see if we can notice a difference. So do I notice a difference right off the bat? Mostly in lighting and shading, and I don't know if maybe this is more true to what it was supposed to be, or just what it is now. So maybe if I can go ahead and, looks like we're getting a little bit of light. Okay. Yeah, alright, so I think the game, it still looks pretty good. Yeah, actually, I'm definitely noticing a significant difference in the grass. Looks great. It's definitely significantly more. It's a lot more dense, but also just in general it looks a little bit better. And I'm not really noticing any change in performance. So it looks like that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for this episode. Thanks for hanging out. Again, this is the first update of Planet Nomads in the closed alpha. They added the new magnetic, the magnetic jack block, or the hoverjack. They enable the ability to connect multiple devices, either electricity wise through Build Vision, and then they also added the new 3x3 cockpit, which I personally am a fan of. They've also, gone through a bug list, or rather bug fixes. You can check the forums for their patch notes. If you guys like what you saw, please leave a comment down below. Would love to hear from you. Please like the video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also follow me on Twitter at RecklessRish. Again, appreciate you guys hanging out. I'll see you in the next episode.